Chris, did you see the minutes?
Yes, I saw the minutes. Sorry, you'll have to not look at me because my video doesn't want to behave, but I did see a couple things in the minutes. First off, Nickerson and O'Day is our construction manager when it talked about in the notes about the former academy. Steve Brown is a member of the committee. And Steve Burton is who is the essentially the construction manager heading up the project for Nickerson and O'Day. So those were the couple things I saw on those notes. And then I think there was just a spelling error about career day.
Doug didn't catch it?
I didn't see it.
So that's the only thing I saw there in the minutes, but
I make a motion, we approve the minutes as amended.
Okay. The motion by Kent, second by Mark to approve the minutes as written, with corrections. All those in favor?
yes. Said Chris.
Thank you. Next department reports.
Evening. Well aware we had a little storm last Monday. Fire department ended up going out on about 40 calls that day. 9.5 hour period, so it's a busy day for 22 firefighters is what I had all throughout the day, full 9.5 hours. Good majority of those were. So hats off to our crew for their dedication. And then the calls continued the next day and even the day after. So altogether, I think we responded to almost 55 calls last week. So prior board meeting, I think I was telling you about how we weren't going to break that record. Guess I jinxed it. We just broke it. We're probably about 205 calls right now. Last year it was 200. Year ain't over. But, so I got a call today for a cat stuck in a tree. So I'm gonna give it a day and see if it comes down. If not, that'll be call number 206. That's, all right. So tomorrow morning, we're gonna have some activity down at the museum property. St. Lawrence Son will be coming down to take the old wood deck out of there and the old foundation, redo the shoreline. I did present it to the planning board and got their approval to move forward for safety reasons and also for that further erosion of the stream and whatnot. So we'll be moving forward with that.
Chief, can I interrupt you for a sec? Before you go too far away from the storm,
Yeah.
Monday, there was a lot of activity on Facebook with people who were obviously upset that they could not have power and that there were some challenges with roads and such. For the record, could you clarify to what degree town employees and the fire department are allowed to sort of rectify trees that are on power lines, and how far can you go? And at what point do you say no?
Yeah. So any tree that's involved with a down power line, we cannot touch it. That includes public works. It's just a safety reason, even though you're pretty sure the whole town has no power.
Yeah.
The problem is a generator could be back feeding that power line and that line could still be energized. So for those reasons, we don't touch any down power lines. Cable, telephone line, we've been known to kind of move those aside just to prevent further, calls coming in for a line across the road. But, we're trained and know the difference, but certainly any primary lines, secondary lines involved in central main power, you don't touch them. That answer your question?
I was pretty much what I thought it was going to be. Thank you.
And just know that overhead service drops that go to people's homes, is typically on the property owner to try to get that fixed or rectified, and usually got to get an electrician involved and whatnot. CM property, all set. Last Thursday, we had ice rescue training, just classroom only. We'll be doing an actual certification, because we've got several members that have left us. Our last certification class, so in the coming months, we'll be getting that scheduled, get some more people qualified, because we gotta go out and rescue somebody or rescue loans or. That's all I got, unless anybody has any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no paperwork for you. What? I just like to say hats off to the fire department for what they did Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday down because the fire department clearing roads, this place, the town would have been shut down. Same in Winthrop too. I mean, I think Winthrop had over 80 calls they were out on. Just a real good professional job marking roads, and I do know we ran out of barricades and cones rather quickly because there were so many down trees. Good asset to have. We need more of them. We did have an issue at dispatch Monday, all Monday and all Tuesday when lines went down. We lost our phone service to the PD. We lost it for about 32 hours, and that was a very stressful time because we had to improvise and call the 911 centers and give them their dispatcher's cell phone numbers so they could call the 911 lines into us. So just another step in the process that we had to set up and deal with during that mess. Fortunately, when we got the power back late Tuesday night, the phones came back with it. So we're working with our providers to figure out what the issue was and why they went down.
It's not supposed to happen.
And we've got 3 systems in place. We've got internet, we've got VoIP phones. We have the copper lines. We have fiber optics coming in there. When the fiber optics and VoIP fails, it's supposed to automatically cut over to the copper lines. It didn't happen, so we're trying to work through that and figure it out so we don't have to suffer through this again. We are in the process of setting up a secondary dispatch at the Winthrop Fire Station. We've got a couple more big purchases to make in order to do that. What that basically is, it's a fail safe. So if our building gets compromised, our dispatch center gets compromised, we send the dispatcher up to the fire station and it's work is normal, you know, so it's just a secondary redundant process that we need to put in place in order to keep the citizens of our community safe. We do have permanent cell phones in dispatch now, just in case we ever run into this problem again, and the 911 centers have those cell phone numbers. If they can't get through on our primary line for whatever reason, they can call those cell phone numbers they have now as backups. I mentioned to you last time that I was going to look into the community policing training through UMA. Did I bring that up to you guys last time?
You did.
I sent in the applications for to the Harold Alphorn Community Learning Center today, and they say it takes 5 to 7 days for approval. So I'm waiting to hear back from them whether they're going to approve that. Lost that funding at 50%. So as soon as I hear back anything on that, I'll bring you guys up to speed on where we're at with that. But I think it's a very important aspect to get all these officers, both in Monmouth and Winthrop, up and trained in the community policing aspect of our service. Not that we don't do it now, but it's good for them to know why we do it, and that's what this will do for us. Any questions?
Where are we with response to situation at the high school?
Okay, so We were supposed to have a meeting last week. But Wednesday night, but it kind of, we had to put it off till the first of the year just because of the circumstances last week, but we've got the final draft done. I've sent that out to all the respondents that are on the board, on the committee, and for their review, we're gonna discuss it at the next meeting, and then following meeting, we're gonna move to a tabletop exercise, and then after that, it's gonna be a live exercise, so we're coming to the end of it, and I feel real confident about the plan we're putting together with people that we have putting it together.
Great. Thank you.
This is an emergency for response for the
Critical incident situation at one of the schools.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Couple things. So one, I'm not sure. Kent wants to discuss it. I'm not sure the letter that's in front of you that was asked by Reagan, the Economic Development Committee. Has met, looking, it's pretty much a formality, but they need an extension so that we don't have to hold 2 elections to make they want some changes to the number of parcels. We're over the parcel count. So they need to make some technical changes to our TIF application, and right now we're not going to meet the deadline. So they require a request from the municipal officers. So the letter is written so that Doug would be the one to sign it, and that would go to DECD. And my understanding, it is a formality, but they would need a vote of you folks to request that.
So there's actually 2 TIF districts in motion. The one that you mentioned
The original.
is not this letter. So the TIF district where we have to take a parcel out,
Yeah.
that one, we'll probably see something about it next meeting because Reagan still has to meet.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I
Assessor.
confused the issue then. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, no, it's okay. It's not a big deal. The 2013 TIF district needs to be a minor technical correction. We're probably gonna see that next meeting.
Okay, sorry.
Or something like that. This letter is formally asking the state for a 1-month extension so that we can consider putting the 202 TIF district on the ballot.
March,
Yeah, March 5th.
I think it's the 15th.
Is it the 5th?
No, it'll be the 5th. Yeah, okay.
So, and that's the commercial district that would be along the, both sides of 202. That includes the lumber yard that's being, cabin mastered. Anyway, we need to ask for their extension so that when we use the primary election, we can ask the voters if they want to approve that, and if they do, then we can just submit the paperwork to the state authorities so that whatever the cabin masters have put into the building could potentially be captured by the TIF.
And where does the funding come from for this new TIF? Do we draw it from the existing fund or?
Nope. The folks who are essentially funding it is primarily going to be the state willing to reduce its tax rate, essentially its share of our tax burden. So essentially, this is a sheltering of taxes from state and county, and the town could still keep its share of the increase in valuation. So the funding doesn't essentially have a net effect on the town. It has a net effect on the RSU. It has a net effect on our county rates in a positive way for the town.
So we'd be able to lower their tax bill. It's just the state and the county wouldn't get much funding from the town.
Bingo. On the additional, not on the original basis, but on whatever additional investment they make, in that property. And it would be at our discretion to what degree we want to do that. So that's a whole nother, series of questions. But if we want to reserve the right to do that, we need to ask for this extension.
Isn't it with our present TIF?
Yep.
We already do that.
We already do that.
Shelter that, some,
Correct.
from the county and the, school.
Yep.
Yeah.
And have been for 10 years, and based on the changes we just sent through, it'll be another 20 or so. That will continue to shelter the state and county levies from the substation that CMP put in South Monmouth back in 2013.
Just the maximum, 30 years is the maximum.
Yeah.
After that, you can't, that TIF will just have to go away unless there's new increment going in.
Do we need a motion on this, or?
I think so. I think that would probably be the cleanest way. That way, if they ask for a vote, they do sometimes ask for a vote.
So I make a motion that we ask the chair to file this request for an extension of the deadline for TIF submission.
Second.
So the motion by Kent, second by Mark to approve the signing of the application to the what commissioner, Department of Economic and Community Development Commissioner, to do what? Can't say. All those in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. You have a meeting, you had a meeting on the 26th.
We did not. We had an extension. We met last night. Instead.
So I'm confused.
Yeah, we did have a meeting. It is the 26th. Yes, we met on the 26th. That was yesterday evening.
Okay, because I didn't get the email until today.
Inviting you to the meeting from last night? Huh.
One way of doing it.
Of course, I may not check I probably didn't check my email.
It was very last minute. You do have to check your inbox.
I do. Okay.
Okay.
I'll let Wendy go next. She's here to talk about the Anabescook Lake level. I know there's been some hubbub about that. She wrote me and her met last week. It was kind of timely. I put some charts in front of you, which she may or may not reference in her thing, but they are very interesting. And then I included an email which she sent to some of the people that are involved in the discussions, which basically outlines it, but I think she'll do a synopsis of what the issue is. Fair enough, Wendy?
Yeah, I do want to give you, if that's true, I do want to give you an overview. There are concerns about high water. You've probably heard some of them. I wanted to see, do you have the graph that's the
That's one.
12-13 one that I messed up, or the 12?
I gave him the new
Oh,
one.
good, that's thanks.
Yeah.
And then just to circulate around, this picture of, picture number one about high water, number two is talk about the dam structure itself. But, yeah, this is a follow-up to this correspondence and the meeting with Justin. We kind of got started at looking at the problem of high water on Anabescook. And so we've had some numerous large storms this year. And so in that first photo going around, it shows the water at the dam on May 1st storm, which was a 5-inch 24-hour storm. And then the next photo is the first storm in December, which I thought we were going to be done with it then. And I haven't had time to update for this latest one, but the last storm we had puts the picture looking pretty much like it did in the May 1st photo. So definitely high water. And the other picture that's the other page shows, really is meant to show that there's only one little spot in the dam that water can flow through, where there are boards where you can actually manage the water. The rest of the time, it's that long spillway that you see in the photo. Water goes over it and it dumps a lot of water that way. But if you want to try to actually influence the water discharge, you've just got that one little opening there with a series of boards in it. So what we're talking about is a goal of increasing the discharge capacity at the Anabescook Lake Dam to reduce the high water and the risk of flooding. And this is just reducing, there's no way we can eliminate it, total control, but it's just only improve the situation. Because basically the problems are that, the weather, this is the third wettest year in the 48 that Cobb's Water District has been taking precipitation measurements at our station in Winthrop. So 2023 is the third wettest year. Of that 8-year record, this December is the wettest December we've had. I haven't had a chance to go back and look at all the different storms to see how many times we've had 3.5, 4, 5-inch storms, but it is highly unusual to have so many we've had this year. So, and the thing is, with the Anabescook Dam, if you have dry years, that board system, one opening, you can manage the water. If you have wet years, doesn't even have to be as wet as this year. We've had wet years in the past, then we run into trouble. So kind of got two things going on. This was really an outstandingly wet and flood prone year, but at the same time, we've had high water problems in many years in the past when it's been wet. So it's kind of an ongoing problem too. Okay, this is the weather, and then you've got Anabescook sitting kind of in the middle of the Cobb's watershed, and you've got Ferry, Dexter, Wilson Pond, Cockneywakan Lake, Upper and Lower Narrows Pond, Carlton Pond, Torsey Pond, Maranacook Lake. I've missed a couple, all flowing into Anabescook Lake, so it receives a ton of water. And then we can't do anything about those two things, but the third thing is that really there's an inadequate discharge system at the dam, and that's what I wanted to talk about, doing something about. So the graph, so one of the things that we want to do by improving discharge capacity at the dam would be to have an ability to draw the lake down in fall for winter purposes, to deal with some winter storms, like, and also to provide storage for spring runoff. So that graph there shows an example of a drawdown failure and a drawdown success. Cobbessy Lake at the bottom is the success, and Anabescook Lake at the top is the failure. So on those graphs, the red dots are actual water level measurements, and the gray dashed line is the theoretical drawdown line. What would you want to have happen when you open the gates and have a drawdown? So you see on Cobbessy, the red dots follow the gray line, and on Anabescook, the red dots are just all bumbling around above the spillway of the dam, never gets down to the goal on November 15th. Some years certainly have done a lot better than this year when it's been dry, but that's the difference. We just can't, in any kind of even mildly wet year, have a drawdown for a couple of reasons. And one is because you've got the boards, which you can take Public Works, they'll go down anytime I suggest it. Try to pull boards, but after you get a couple out, then the water pressure is enough that it's hard to get any more out. So you have to wait for the water to go down, and that will work in a normal year, but if rain comes along and brings the water up, then you're stuck. So they get about 3/4 of the way to what's typical for board removal this year. So that also tells you that while this, system is a little inadequate because you do have to wait for the water to go down, but even when you get to a typical level, it's nowhere near enough for enough water to go through. So we want to draw down, we want to be able to discharge water before a storm, if you get a forecast and get surprised by a storm. We want to be able to discharge water immediately after the storm. And also a system that's easier to operate. There's a bit of a safety issue, and it's hard work to try to get those boards out of the dam. And then so those are operational matters. On the environmental side, we want to reduce flooding, faster return to pre-storm conditions after a storm. We want to reduce shoreline erosion on Anabescook Lake. and be better prepared for changes in weather patterns and for wet periods. So the possible solutions that, well, Justin and I talked about some of them. So if the board system could be operated differently, could be replaced with could either, the boards could be removed by like a winch system, come along winch system, or it could be replaced by, like they have at the Tacoma Lakes Dam, in some of the bays, they've got large wooden boards and then they have a come along. But, okay, I'm not good at this kind of stuff, guys, but the difference is that at the Tacoma Lakes Dam, you've got like a little bridge there, a truck can drive right up next to this system, you know, and pull this up. The Anabescook Dam, you don't have that. So I'm not sure if there's a way to really improve board removal at the dam. So a second option, which I think is a better option, is to do away with boards and put in a gate. And that way you can, you know, instantly raise it full if you need to, or you can fine tune it a few inches at a time. You can go back any day and make an adjustment. That's not at all possible with this board system. And that's what some of the dams that used to have board systems have switched to that. Up at Horsey Pond at the headwaters, they had a board system and now they have gate.
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
on the board removal? How do they do that? Do they have to like get in the water to remove?
They don't usually get in the water. There's a platform over where the boards are. But, you know, you have to take like poles with hooks on them. There are hooks, 2 hooks in each board. And 2 guys pull it so that you don't get it crooked and stuck. And just pull it up.
I've never seen it done. I'm just curious.
It's, especially when those boards are under pressure, takes a pretty hefty pull. And one of the safety concerns is if you pull too hard or the hook slips out of the hole, then someone's at risk of flipping over and going into Copsey, you know, the jug stream side effects.
Which did happen once. So, yeah, so a gate would be, really give you much more control. Then you get to the, third option, which would be to enlarge that opening, because you're still gonna have, a gate would work well, but in large storms, you're still gonna be sunk because it's a small opening. So you could enlarge that opening and put in a larger gate. Another option would be to stick with that opening, put a gate in, and then cut through the concrete and put in a second gate. You could double your outflow capacity. Or you could do something similar that was done at the Maranacook Lake Dam, where they cut into the concrete spillway, lowered it, and put a bladder gate in that. And there's a lot of pros and cons. I'm not sure if that would be the best for Anabescook because a lot of people go down to that dam, and I'm not sure that the bladder could be protected from vandalism, but that's something to consider. So, okay, so these are all, you know, possible solutions. And what are the obstacles? Well, money. It costs money, of course. And then also, any change with gates, there's going to be more increased operational duties. Right now, Public Works can only go down there a few times and make changes to the gate. During dry periods, fine, nothing's happening, but during wet periods, the dam operator could be going down there frequently. So then you think about, is that something Public Works is going to do, or do you hire a dam operator because Public Works during those busy periods are out dealing with like culverts and roads and everything else? But that's further down the line. I'm just mentioning that as something that you deal with. But I think that the next steps that you know, Justin and I talked about this a bit. Okay, so we talk about this with the select board, let people know about the problem. And then if we could kind of agree on that there is a problem, what the problem is, and what the desired outcomes are, starting point, and then have, you know, Anabescook Lake Association, the public, if they knew that there was a goal it seemed like something good to them, then everybody was kind of on the same page to start with. Because there's been a lot of there's some myths out there about what's going on or not going on, as always the case. It would be good if we could have sort of a united idea for just what our goal is. How we get there, then it's up to the town, but the next step would be, I would suggest, would be you need to have information, you need an engineering feasibility assessment really about the options and get cost estimates for the different options. When the towns of Winthrop and Reedfield remodeled the Maranacook Lake Dam several years ago, there were different ideas about, okay, let's just take the little gate and make it bigger, or let's just do this and that. It was these hydrologic and engineering study that really said, okay, if you spend the money doing this, you're only gonna get this % improvement, it's not worth it. Or, if you put the gate here, you're gonna blast out this bank on the side, so you need to move it to the middle. This is the kind of information you need, I think, before you go spending money on trying to fix the problem. So, but that means you have to spend money on studies. Get to that a little more. But that would be the first step. So in the 2024 budget, then is there the opportunity to put money in for the study? That's the question I'm asking you. Then based on the results of the study, you could choose what option you want to do, what you want to implement, and then you move forward with, okay, then how are you going to finance the actual implementation? So, and then you talk about, okay, how much that's going to cost, and do you want to bring Winthrop into it? Since there's so much shorefront, the lake is shared between Monmouth and Winthrop. And a lot of dam repair projects do have some kind of a split between the different municipalities. When Manchester did a fairly expensive project on the Cobussy Lake Dam, they were the dam owner. They wanted to retain control, so they paid 50%, and then they asked the other towns to divvy up the other 50%. Well, there was a glitch while one town said, I'd rather blow it up. Eventually, all the towns did pay for it.
Which town was that?
That was an option.
So I don't know if this would help you or not, but I was at a meeting in Augusta and in November, and I heard about something called the Community Resilience Partnership. And looked at it, that gives grants to municipalities for different projects to deal with weather. And they said that, when I asked them, they said that the town could just sign up to be part of the partnership without any obligations. And then once they're signed up, then they're able to apply for funding. They give out up to $50,000 for certain types of projects, which I think this could fall under. A lot of the projects have to do with heat pumps and lighting, things like that. But I don't think this is too far off. I saw that the town of Bodenham got $50,000 for an erosion control project. And the town of Bridgeton got $50,000 for a road stormwater management evaluation. So that means it's studies. It's not just actually implementation and construction. Harpswell got $50,000 for a preliminary engineering design of town road improvements to address sea level rise. So it seems like it's worth a shot looking at the application. See if it's something to apply for. Those applications are due March 29th. So, this means that, okay, you'd have to decide either to put money into your budget. Because I know you work on this all winter, and you have to have the warrant printed by a certain time. And so you might have to have it in there. Either you'll spend it if you don't get the grant, or a caveat that you don't spend it if you don't get the grant, whatever. But I don't know, I just thought it would be worth looking into that grant. But and I hope to have some rough, a rough estimate for you of what these studies might cost, but in the Maranacook Dam, these studies were 2015, and it was $25,000-$30,000, and one was hydrologic to see how much water that you needed to get out of the dam, and the other was the engineering options, structural, and they both companies ended up sort of underestimating what those would really cost. So I think it was more like 30,000 then. So I think a $50,000 grant would get you some good work. And maybe it's not going to cost that much. One of the engineering firm was fantastic, but they were in Boston. So, and they tried to cut down the number of times they had to come up here, but you know how much you have to pay a consultant to travel and come to a meeting, there are ways to cut some of these costs, but anyway, I think that I'm just asking for the select board to decide if they're interested in exploring options to modify the Anabescook Lake Dam so that it would pass more water and reduce flooding. And trying not to talk out of both sides of my mouth, but also realize that when you get a storm like we just had, sometimes you can't do enough. It's not going to prevent some of these wild storms from causing flooding.
Wendy, how's the dam faring with the pool liner, for lack of a better?
Oh, yeah, in 2017, the Anabescook Lake Dam had a temporary fix applied to it by the Commercial Divers Incorporated, which is a great company that is used in a lot of dams in the watershed. And yeah, they had this heavy poly plastic that they put against the dam because particularly on the west side, it was leaking. That was a dry period and people were concerned about losing water. Right now, we have the opposite problem. But put that plastic down and secure it with sandbags. And I think it worked great for 5 years now. I noticed last summer that there are a couple places where leaks are starting again. That could be easily fixed. But so sometimes, there are some non-fancy things to do that don't cost a lot of money.
Would it be worth, incorporating some sort of just general evaluation of the health of the dam into, if we're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on studying, how to modify the dam in order to increase its capacity to send water downstream, would it be worth, while the engineer is there, evaluating the structural integrity of the dam at the same time, just to make sure that
condition assessment too, and so like for example, commercial divers, they dive and they will see, steel that's underwater eroding that you never see, and they'll find gates where some of the hardware has come out and you don't know it and are in danger of having the whole gate go. They'll see, they test where there are leaks, they'll see concrete deterioration. And that's not the only way to do it, but they do a lot of dam evaluation recommendations. So that's a big thing to use. And at the Maranacook Dam, the engineering firm did a study of places around the former gate where concrete was deteriorating, and the idea had been to just kind of patch that up. And they made it clear that there needed to be new concrete pillars put in. Just a waste of money to patch it. It was getting dangerously close to not being safe. So yeah, that should be rolled into the evaluation.
Discussed at the last meeting and Wendy and I talked about it. We have 5,000 in our budget this year. And I've already asked Calderwood, who did the Cocknoagan repair, to do a basic assessment on that now. And they said they think they can get us a proposal here in the next month or two to maybe do that in the spring. So we kind of have the money for that first part that I think that you're mentioning.
Mhm.
But this other stuff she's mentioning it would be in addition to.
It'd be great to take that first step, whatever
Right.
information they could come up with for that amount of money as a start.
So that's in our current fiscal year?
Yes.
And I'd be happy to talk to them about what else. The other kind of information we're looking at, so that if they're looking at something and the discharge capacity is tied in with that, and that's obvious, they can let you know. Happy to talk to them about that. Okay, well, thank you very much. Thing to talk on. There are
So,
a lot of
couple of action items, you're gonna get back to us with some rough estimate of costs, potential costs.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to put out any, involved itemized requests, but just a couple of,
Enough for a budgeting
Calls,
purpose if we
and,
decided to put something there.
I've already sent word down to the New Dam committee chair about a proposal that they put out, and to remind myself what was in it. I think it's relevant to this and what the cost coming on that. So, there are some pieces of cost information I can get for you. And you said
Justin.
a couple of things. What else?
Well, actually, one might be for Justin, there are a couple of deadlines, I understand, for this community resilience partnership grant process. And one of them is we need to be signed up by January 4th.
Okay, on January 4th, there's a webinar
And a web,
about this, so
Yeah.
it might be good if you had the time to go to that, and it would be good to sign up for the partnership or look into signing up, make sure what I was told is true, that you're not signing anything away, that you're just getting on record
Getting the
so that
town on the
you
list.
are able to submit the grant application.
is that something you could take care of, Justin?
Yeah, I can certainly look into it and let you all know. I don't think we have a meeting before then, but I'll poll you guys in your, in the email, make sure everything, if there's anything we have to do. Does that make sense?
I suspect it's just filling out a form, so we're on the list.
Yep.
And then there's an application deadline for the 2024 round of awards. Up
I
to-
don't know when that money becomes available, but for 2024 money, it's
Right.
March 29th, and then we reference to the fall application period as well.
Yeah, I'll look into it and I'll let you know kind of how realistic it is. Sometimes they want you to kind of be so far down the
Really ready to
pipeline
go.
or whatever, and I'll look into that and see whether it's better for the spring or the fall, and I'll let you know.
Thank you.
The fall grant deadline is March 29th.
March 29th, okay.
You have to enroll for the webinar in order to apply.
This loader, I wanted to bring this to you. This is from Public Works. So, as you know, the loader is down. It was taken off site to be looked at. The estimate to repair the hydraulic end, I believe, is what it was was 25,000. Trying to move forward with that, but now there's some type of leaking coming from the transmission. So to pull that, it's 7,000 to 9,000 just to pull it to look, and they're sort of hinting that usually once they get in there's going to be something else wrong. So I asked them to stop. I asked them to give me an estimate of what the thing would be worth broken. It's worth 25,000 or so broken. It's worth 40,000 fixed. We're currently paying about 6,000 a month to rent one. So because we have to have one for snow operations, if it ever snows. And
Silver lining.
right. So, and then we looked into lease to own options, thinking that, well, maybe if we just threw this one away, we could get into a lease right now that maybe we'd get some credit for it if we then went and bought it after, in the budget process. And they said, yeah, that's all well and good, except we can't get any of these things. It's like everything else. It's like they don't exist. You order them, you wait in line. So there's a potential we could be, from now till then, it could be a year of renting one, which is, $70,000-$80,000 by the time we're done in rental fees. So I kind of stopped and told them that I needed to bring this to you folks about what you want to do. It's clear that the thing is on its last legs at this point, but just sitting here with Mark, it's like, well, it's true. If you fix it, at least you have $40,000. Maybe it ends up costing us almost 40 to fix it, but it's worth. At least you can get the 40 back in theory. So I don't know. Where do you folks
And we-
want to go with this
And we
thing?
have a loader instantly, relatively soon, right? For this.
Correct. So it's really too much money for me to pull the trigger without asking you folks.
It sounds like it's gonna cost less to repair it than it is to lease one, long term.
What the maintenance schedules on them? Is that why we're having these issues?
This is a 2000. That's the number I got in my head.
7-year-old loader.
Seems old.
It seems old. It's like a 2008 or something.
Is it okay? Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I thought I had a 6 in it, but I.
But are we having regular maintenance done on this stuff so we don't run into these issues?
As far as I know, I mean, I don't maintain the equipment, so I'm not positive. I can't answer that question, to be honest.
I was thinking of the 2006.
Maybe that's where I was
It's
getting the
not a
6 from.
16. It's nowhere near that.
It doesn't say on here, so I'm not sure. All I do know is that, the people at both ends giving us quotes say this is an end of life, piece of equipment, and that's why it's only worth that. I mean, a new one is $275, $300. I mean, it's an expensive piece. If it's determined that that's the correct size for us, if it's either too big or too small, that would be evaluated if we ever went to buy another one, I think, of course. One of the issues right now with them renting them is the one we have barely fits in the salt shed. It only has like a 6-inch clearance, is my understanding. So you know how everything's gotten bigger. So one of the fears is that, if we don't kind of size it right and we don't have a new salt shed, that it won't fit. And then we have another problem.
So we have 2 loaders. We're renting one and we own one.
We own one that's not here right now. It's been taken to be repaired, but it's sitting there because I told them
Yep.
to stop.
And we're renting another.
We're renting one, but just as an aside, the one we rented, the turbo failed on it. So they're gonna get us another one. So that one's sitting over there on non-operational as well.
So $6,000 transmissions, 1 month rental.
Right, but there's 25,000 in additional repairs, plus now the 6 plus. We don't know what it's gonna cost once they take the transmission out. So we're north of 30 at this point, probably. In that range. We're probably in the 30,000 range, right, somewhere in there.
Which is now 5 months rental.
Right.
What do you think, Andy?
Work with equipment all the time.
Yeah.
Work with a lot of old equipment all the time too. One of the problem on a lot of older equipment is lack of the overlooked maintenance. We'll do it next week, we'll do it the week after, never gets done. Oil changes, we'll do an oil change, but we didn't have the filter, we'll just skip it, I think there should be a lot more scrutiny on how stuff is being taken care of.
Yeah. Gotcha, but given where we're at,
And then the other thing is, riding around town with a bucket loader to pick up a bag of garbage in East Monmouth, you drive
3-4 miles this way, 5 or 6 miles that way for useless wear on equipment is what I see. You know, unduly used equipment for that. You know,
Luckily, we do now have a mechanic position that is filled. So that would, I would assume, be part of his duties moving forward as the mechanic on staff to ensure
The
that.
planned maintenance stuff gets done.
yeah, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure, and right now we got 10 pounds of cure and no maintenance. Like I said, $40,000 or $50,000 on a machine that size is nothing. Really,
To repair or what it's worth?
to repair it.
Oh, okay.
Once it's repaired, you got an operational piece of equipment for what, more than a month, right?
Right.
Hopefully, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. They rebuild the transmission, I have to do a front end. It's like I said, I think it'd be money.
And we've put quite a bit of money into it already.
Yes.
I mean, they replaced the bucket, they wore the bucket out on it, so I had to buy a new bucket, and I think they did a wiring harness not too long ago, and
Right. You've got other
tires.
investments already in this piece of machinery.
I don't know
That's why I'm here. I don't know.
I don't
anything
know where
about
the funding
equipment, so-
comes from, but I don't know where the funding comes from, but I think we need to repair it.
Yep, okay.
That's my,
That's what I'm hearing.
Chris?
I think it makes sense to do the repair on it because then we will at least have something when the time comes to trade, and hopefully it will be a working trade if we get to that point. And if we don't need to trade it, if we get, like Andy said, another 5-6 years out of it, at least it's our machine and it fits into the salt shed and it's ours. So, but I totally agree that we need to make sure that whatever our next steps are in Public Works, that we have a definite maintenance schedule planned out and going forward, and that we've got that on the books and have it followed to a T. So I agree with repairing it.
We need a motion.
Purchasing policy says something of this expense is your call. So if you want to vote, that would be.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve the repair expense. Do you want to do not exceed amount? or-
I don't think so. If you just kind of tell me, we'll just move forward. If it gets really ridiculous, I'll come back.
All right, come back if it gets more than $40,000. That we move forward with repairing the loader.
Second.
So the motion by Kent, second by Mark to move forward with repairing the loader. All those in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy.
Good thing you're here.
That's all I have for now.
You were asking at the last meeting for some information on the undesignated fund balance.
Yes, and we're gonna work on that for you. I'll make sure you have it for your budget process, but it's gonna take a little bit of time. I did find something for you, Ken. Mark worked up a thing for us last year when we did this, so we have somewhat of a starting place that kind of narrows that number down a little bit.
Okay.
So once I have it, he's on vacation this week. So once I have a chance, one of your next few meetings, I'll bring it, but you'll certainly have it in time for your budget process.
Okay.
And the same thing goes for, I'll try to have all the information for the hauling for the trash and recycling for your Public Works budget session. I'll try to have that put together, that spreadsheet you wanted to add. I'll try to have that for them.
And were we gonna meet the candidate for the Director of Public Works?
So the council in Winthrop has decided not to go that way. I can't say anything more because it was an executive session decision, so I can't give you any details, but that's off the table. So I've already posted the job. I posted it yesterday.
Okay.
I put it on Facebook today, so it's out there now, so we'll do it on our own.
Great.
I think that's a better decision anyway.
Remind me to.
No, I haven't applied.
maybe-
If I was
maybe
20
you've
years
already-
younger, I would have, I tell you that.
I may have a candidate for you.
Or
Fair enough.
Something.
how long's that position been vacant?
time. We've had,
6 weeks?
I mean, previously to Dan Dutton, it was, we were having trouble filling it.
Yeah, it was open for 5 or 6 months, I think.
Oh, yeah, we couldn't, we got zero
We had a
application.
temporary fill in, but
Yeah, we had an acting, do us a favor.
We had people apply and then look at the job and say, no, it's not enough money or take care.
Gonna be a challenge. The pay scale for that position is completely connected to construction. And
You know, I worked at 40 years,
people are making good money right now. So it's gonna be expensive.
but there's a lot of guys my age and younger that may be looking for getting out of 60, 80 hours a week and going back to a 40-hour week.
Maybe. I don't know, you busy, Andy?
I'm not volunteering, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
They already pay me to mow road signs.
Next is,
I had one thing, hold on. I just wanted to give you folks an update that the Academy Building Committee hasn't, forgotten about coming up with a date to meet, to do a walkthrough. But between the holidays and the storm, they're gathering all those numbers to bring back and also getting together with Nickerson and O'Day and the architect to be able to come up with a date that works. And then, like Justin said, we'll post the date. So if we're all there, it's a posted meeting ahead of time. So I double checked on that information today. Nothing new, but we're in the process of getting it together for you. So the other thing I wanted to ask Justin, I noticed that we've reposted the position for deputy tax collector, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We got the applicant we offered to, it doesn't look like it's gonna work out, and the other two qualified applicants make way more than we pay in other communities. Searching again. Anybody for that? We're willing to train in that one. You can get the right person.
For select board reports, the ice on Maple Street is an ongoing issue. Obviously, we get a lot of rain. People's basements are pumping out across their lawn and running down the road, and there's one house there, the ice has been 5-6 inches thick in the end of his driveway. And at some point, we're gonna have to address that. I know that people are supposed to try to maintain their water on their own property, but there just doesn't seem to be, the property is not pitched so they can do that. If they pump it to the backside of their property, it runs right back towards the road. So I don't know what the solution's gonna be, but it is gonna need to be addressed at some point. It's not fair to those property owners to have a constant buildup of ice in their driveway to deal with.
I've noticed it on Main Street, opposite the post office, when we had a lot of,
It hasn't seemed to have been an issue there in the last year or two. I don't know if someone made some changes there, but ever since we've completed the sidewalks on Maple Street, it's been an issue there every year.
Yeah.
And it's amazing it's there now because it's been so warm. It's still there though.
That's because the ice was
Yeah.
so thick, it's taken this long to melt.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Thank you,
why,
Mark, for bringing that up because I meant to bring it up as well. So
why that water can't be piped underground and cut into the catch basin. And I know you're pumping water from someone's house into the catch basin, but there's no different than it running on top of the ground and running down the street and into the catch basin. So at some point, it's gonna need to be addressed.
Could we ask the code enforcement official to go down in a constructive way to make some suggestions that maybe are not, some unconventional suggestions?
I know one house did try to address it. They had an excavator in there and they put in like a drainage field out back or something to try to.
We've done it in this town at least 2 or 3 times that I know of that I had written a violation for water in the street after a complaint from a neighbor.
Yeah.
And they actually had to, get a permit from Ernie and put in a complete septic system. Tank and field, just for fresh water. The only thing that worked. You know where it is, because we had all sorts of trouble.
Right.
So it's the woman that's complaining. That's the last one we did, and it's worked. There's no water in the street anymore. But $2,000, then,
More than a couple, probably.
yeah,
Yeah, you're talking 10, 12,000.
yeah.
So
On
if-
Maple Street, it can go in the backyard
Yeah.
and take care of that issue. These people really want to push it towards the street because it runs into the sewer.
So it becomes an enforcement issue of making them
Put
control,
it in the back.
making them control their runoff
You
water.
can't pipe under the street and have a residential pump directly into it. They have a oil leak in the basement, they're pumping it right directly into that, they won't allow that.
Right.
It's, when it's on top of the ground, they can see an oil leak, and when it's on the ground, they can't.
On the basement last week on Maple Street, the backyard. It's great.
There you go. It works. They just don't want to keep their yard wet.
Yeah.
It's the complaint I had.
So it happens on both sides of Maple Street because there's two properties that have some pumps pumping into the street on the post office side of Maple Street and ice up one driveway there. So now we've got a beautiful sidewalk that we can't walk on, and you have to walk into the street so you don't fall and break your leg. And then on the downhill side of Maple Street, there's one property still that pumps into the street. And that one is, before the sidewalk was there, the sidewalk acts like a diverter. So, it runs down, but then when the sidewalk ends and there's no curb, it fills up two driveways with ice. And you have to walk into, either the person's yard to try to get around it. And then there's still ice in their front yard, or try to walk around it in the street and risk getting run over with somebody coming around the corner from Gray Mill Road. So we have a beautiful sidewalk that we can't use in a couple different places. And it's funny about the people that have the sump pumps that are pumping into the street. The three of them that caused the problems, I kind of chuckle about it. But so I think that it has to be addressed on the up street side and the down street side for three different residences if we want to maintain this sidewalk, because if we had all this rain and it was cold right now, we'd be in a way worse situation because they'd still be pumping it out on top of the ice, and it would be refreezing every single night, and it would be like a rink out there. So I mean, if it continues to stay that way, we're going to have Public Works out there putting some sand down on a regular basis to even care for this on a sunny day, because I don't think it's fair to the homeowners to have that mess in their driveway and not be able to even walk up the street to use the sidewalk, or anybody try to use the sidewalk. So I think definitely we need to have it addressed.
Don't we pass off to Andy?
I'll talk to him about it. I'll see what we can come up with. I wouldn't even mind walking around with him to do that type of stuff.
Yep. Only other thing I have, I am gonna be headed south before too long, so I will be here on Skype. And if it does turn out I won't be here for an evening, if I can't get on, I will let you know that I will be absent, but.
Have the red face again.
Probably.
Good for you.
I've got one issue. We had a makeup meeting of the Economic Development Committee last night here. And we've already talked about the TIF stuff that and some decisions on. Just in the interest of transparency, there was some talk about a potential affordable housing building that was being thought of located on Main Street. And it sounds like that proposal is not moving forward. Although there is, same developer is considering another location on Academy Road, just down here on the other side of the school, as a potential affordable / elderly housing type development project. Don't have anything firm, have no diagrams, we don't know what this thing looks like, but he's exploring that possibility. Just FYI.
Anything else? Next, public comment?
I just have a question and I didn't know Wendy was gonna be here, but it's great that Wendy's here. I have just a simple question. The Cognawagan Dam of 5 years ago and the Cognawagan Dam of this year. Is it the same size spillway? Is it the same size gate? Is it the same amount of water flow? Does anybody know?
Same gate, it's the same gate that's been there for a while.
Spillway is the same, that wasn't changed in the construction project. And it's the same size gate, I mean, it's a new gate, but it's the same size as before.
So the only difference is that escaped water is not there anymore. So it all goes through the gate, it doesn't go underneath anymore. So it's less water going down the stream.
But they also cleared on each side because when we excavated in there, we realized that the gate was it wasn't going all the way down because there was so much debris in there between old trees and rocks and all that stuff. So that has been cleaned out. So in theory, I know Wendy can probably speak to this better. It may be slightly bigger, not because we designed it bigger, but because there's less stuff in the way for the water to go. I don't know how that works, but.
And so there was a big problem with debris, as you often would alert us to at that dam. And so the grading system there, now preventing some debris from getting in and getting stuck under, but so it should be it should provide as much water flow as before. And I don't know, the people who live next to the dam with the big pond with all the 3 dozen geese swimming in it probably think they're getting enough water, but I can look back at the records and see, I mean.
It just seems different only because, as everybody knows, I've said it enough times, the lake was very low during the construction process. Well, when the construction stopped, the lake filled up like that. And now with all this water, it's way over, and I know it's over, but it's still going up. It's still going up. You know, it hasn't dropped any even before the last storm. It was still going up. I had called Wendy and said, please make sure it's open. And she did, you know, it was open. It's not going down, it's going up. And that's never happened. When the gate opened in the past 15 years ago, when somebody went down and opened the gate, the next day you saw an inch loss. That's the way it worked. It was an inch, right? 3/4 of an inch a day. It's going the other direction.
But I can't be sure, so I'd have to try to find out, but I think it's because of all the water coming in, because even Cobussy, a lot of the lakes have turned around and started to drop, but Cobussy Lake, it took till like yesterday when it finally had dropped an inch. There's so much water coming in and just spreading out over such a large area. To pull that back from the wetlands and into the lake outlet, it's just a ton of water, so. And it
But then
depends.
there are no wetlands to speak of on Cognawagan.
Well, the
it's-
big one down
every-
by you on the other side of the track.
But that governs the lake level. It doesn't mimic the lake level. Water doesn't go backwards through the culvert the other way.
No,
It
no,
never
listen,
goes that way.
no, no,
So
not
it's
just-
so
yeah,
that has
okay, what I
nothing to
was
do
just
with lake level.
describing on Cobbessy
Yeah.
is different from
Yeah.
that wetland.
Yeah.
But that wetland does drain a pretty good sized area. There's probably a lot coming in.
It was just a question. I didn't
No,
know
good.
if there was a difference.
No,
that
we didn't modify
that
the
need
size,
to
we just put in
Worry
a
about because,
new gate,
you know, it's,
cleaned it out.
we never got to winter level, like Jump Stream never got to winter level. You know, so this added rain has just put us in flood. I mean.
You didn't go downtown hall, did
We're
you?
in the third
Okay.
highest
Yeah,
48 years or whatever.
Yeah,
you know, there's riprap on the whole lake, practically the whole lake has been riprap, thanks to Friends of Cobbessy. But all the water is over all the
It's
riprap,
over.
it's over the top of the riprap, now it's ice, and the ice is actually ripping the riprap back down into the lake. You know,
and
so,
that's, yeah, and that's, I mean, I don't blame you being a property owner, not liking that one bit. That is happening. On a number of places, and that the riprap has just been. Underwater and then pulled out, undermined.
Yeah.
There's a place on Cobbessy where they have more of a wall. And that's all undermined such that it was discovered that actually there's a wall behind that one. And sometime in years past, they built a wall in front of it. And so all sorts of things are
okay,
of structural damage is happening right now. But we should keep in mind to look at to make sure that the outflow is still at least as good as it was before, because
or it's not.
And I think if you guys went to a mechanical gate. I worked on dams for Chimbrook for 10 years. You guys just went to the old style mechanical gate with a set of screws and a handle, and you lock the handle down. You know, and you could regulate that gate flow 100 times better than somebody going down there trying to pull out a damn plank.
That's right,
at Annabeth.
Okay,
that's right.
you could go down there and open that spillway in an hour. Let one person unlock a lock, wheel it open, let it set. When you get your water down where you want it, close it back up. You know, it's a set of mechanical spillways right there is all you need. You don't need don't have to have all these studies on flows, this and that. Put your money into something that works and you'll be done with it.
Okay, so that's Annabethcook Lake, and Dave's talking about Cocknowagon.
Yeah, I'm
And the
talking
gate
Annabeth.
is a- Cocknowagon is a mechanical gate, rack and pinion kind of situation where it lifts up, so.
Right.
So that's a good method there for Cocknowagon. That would be better at Annabethcook too. The value of the study would be to find out if you should do more than that, and if it's something affordable, do more than that, because it's still a small opening at Annabethcook. And so.
I mean,
Yeah, but if you
Put that
throw
gate-
if you flow 1,000,000 CFM through there in 24 hours, or if you flow 50,000 CFM through there in 12 hours, what are you gonna have for a flow rate is what you're gonna have. You gotta know how much rise you got, how much water you gotta get rid of, or how much water you intend to get rid of in a certain length of time. We've had astronomical high water all year long. The ground just can't take anymore. So the surrounding area just can't absorb the water. Then you get we got 6.25 inches the other day. 6¼ inches at the farm. Okay? My pond to 135 where the duck house is, that whole lawn was totally underwater. 12 hours later, it's dry because the culvert going across 135 handled it. Now, people around the lake gotta understand, when you get that much water, that short period of time, it's gonna go somewhere.
Thank you.
That's my 2 cents.
you,
Now, until you got a flow rate of what you intend on flowing out of there. Then you ought to check with downstream Copsey what they are gonna anticipate, what you're dumping in there. You might get a little feedback from them saying, hey, you're not gonna flow 1,000,000 CFM down through here. We only want maximum of this flow rate.
Already got that feedback on this idea. Yeah, you're right.
I don't know, they were pretty upset when we put the pool liner in, set them off for a couple of years. What's next on our agenda, Doug?
Well, we're all set with that. You satisfied, Mr. Shaw? Okay.
Public comment?
Yes, we are.
Just wanted to ask, Justin, if he could enlighten us a little bit or give us a picture. So obviously we care about our town departments, fire department, police department. Library, want everybody to be happy and things going well. So I know it's been a bumpy road for the highway department. Just how's Tyler doing? Are we supportive of him? How's the morale there? What are the guys needing? You looking after them? What's going on then?
Yeah, we're trying. I mean, Tyler, he's been as responsive as he can. I mean, he's obviously fairly inexperienced too, leading the department. So he's looking for a lot of guidance on a lot of things about, what to purchase or when he should just do it on his own and all that type of thing. We're trying, he's down, I would say daily, talking to Lori, and he's in my office probably twice a week. So we're trying to give him all the help that we can with any questions he has. He doesn't hesitate to ask, so that's a good thing.
We continue to hear around town, we hear a lot of good things about Tyler. See, people seem to like him. Feel like
Yeah, he's very personable. I mean,
Right.
certainly, he's very easy to get along with for the most part. Yeah.
So they're holding it together down there, the rest of the crew with him.
We think so far, right? I mean, they have to sort of overcome this storm here, and we haven't really dealt with, the day after day snow activity and all that, being one person down. So hopefully everything will be okay. I mean, this is obviously, besides the storm, it's been helpful that it hasn't been snowing all right along here, so that's been a good thing for them. Not having a loader is a problem. It does slow down some of the things, like right now, they have a limited capacity on what they can move on the side of the road because of that. When they get the rental back, that'll help, because they can get more at some of the larger trees or the bigger problems that are out there that they need the larger piece of equipment for, but.
Do we have one person retiring soon? Are we looking to post that too coming up?
Yes, we have one person who's gonna leave in March, and we have another one who's eligible right now as well, but it doesn't look like he's going to leave real quick, but we are aware that there's two people that can leave at any time at this point.
Should they be taking candidates for the match one already?
No, we're not, because we haven't gotten sort of a definitive plan from that person about when their end date is. So it limits our ability to do anything, because if he doesn't actually let us know. So once an employee lets us know, we can do an anticipated vacancy, but we can't. So we, in theory, can take applications and maybe do interviews, but we have to tell everybody that it's not really a position yet. Until they actually file their retirement notice with us, it's not a position available for us to hire for. So we get kind of,
Well, I hope when they find somebody to drive a truck, they know how to pick the wing up. You drive around town, all you can do is just drive around town.
I know every snowstorm I get calls. I mean, I'm not unaware of the complaints. I get those.
I ain't bothered to call you, but you ought to come look at my lawn and when the road pitches this way and the wing's cut that way, obviously I've plowed, I know how to run a wing. Soft ground, you don't run wing pressure. You take pressure off that cable. Pick that wing up. So what if you leave it an inch or two out there, 3 feet? Let the frost set it in, then you can run your wing down. It looks like they've been running around town with a one bottom plow on the end of the wing. In a lot of places, and yet you go to other towns and you don't see none of it. So I think inexperience, not teaching them how to run this stuff. But to cut down on some of the maintenance issues that we also have too. They have an idea that when that wing's digging in, you can feel it. If you can't feel it in the cab where you're driving, you probably shouldn't be driving that piece of machinery. You can feel that wing dig in just as quick as anything. Unless you've been in a seat and done it, you know it.
Thank you.
It's the public works director.
I don't know why you're not applying, Andy.
Like I said, if I was 20 years younger, I'd been here in a heartbeat, but at 60, almost 67 years old, I don't want to step into one of them public works. already supposedly retired twice, so.
Okay, next on to, consider, ratification of a memorandum of agreement, with the,
AFSCME.
AFSCME, creating a mechanic position classification.
So this was a request initiated by the union. We're not in, the contract is still in effect. We don't have that position. So in order to create that position and fill it or pay the person who would be in it, we have to sign this agreement. It's basically an addendum to the union contract that would authorize us to use these pay scales for that position.
I make a motion, we authorize the town manager to ratify the MOU with AFSCME, creating a mechanic position.
Second.
There's a motion by Kent, a second by Mark to approve the ratification of a memorandum of agreement with the AFSCME for the position. All those in favor?
Yes,
Thank you. Next is to consider updates to the town's property, the town's tax acquired property disposition policy.
So this is basically being led by the change in state law based on the, like we've talked, the US Supreme Court struck down Maine statutory framework. This just aligns the policy which you passed last year with the new set of laws, which is basically, in a nutshell, basically says that if you're the former owner is afforded the opportunity to request that the town list the property with a real estate broker before it's sold. So if it does that, there's a 90-day period. We give them 90 days to respond. They can respond to us within those 90 days after foreclosure or after we send them the notice. And if they say that they would like that process, we follow that alternative process. Previously, you had approved an RFP for a real estate brokerage services. So once this, if you approve this policy, then I will put that RFP out on the street because that will then sort of fulfill our requirements under this new framework.
I just saw.
This has been shown, I'm sorry, Chris. This has been sent to the town's attorney and this is, she has edited it the way that she wants to see it. So this has been reviewed.
And I just saw a couple typos. It said certified Maine, M-A-I-N-E, or sorry, M-A-I-N, and it should be certified mail on page 3.
There's that one.
Page 3, letter C. Says certified Maine. Instead of,
We did see that, yeah.
and then our mailing address is the post office box on page
Okay.
letter D. So that needs to be changed to our new street address.
Both of those, Chris?
Where's the PO box?
Letter D.
Yep, page 6, letter D, I think. So I think it's on the last page, but
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Very good.
I just wanted to be Doug tonight, that's all.
Yeah.
Make a motion, we approve the updates to the town's tax acquired property disposition policy as amended.
Okay.
Motion by Kent, second by Mark to approve the update
The policy.
to the policy. All those in favor?
Yes,
It's sort of,
That's passed, is that, do we understand that that's allowing it to be able to sell property again? Is that what this is accomplished?
Correct. We'll do an RFP for the broker services because we have to have that in place first in the event someone requests that as their process, but then we can move forward again like we were planning on doing it, I don't know, 18 months ago.
The output is equal to the repairs on the loaded.
Next is the to consider the an FY for fiscal year 24 tax increment financing budget.
That was on the original one. I amended the agenda, so it's not on, I pushed it off because there's new categories in there and I wanted the Eco Devo committee to have a chance to look at it first. And I thought about that after I sent out the original agenda. So I took it off.
We do have some ideas.
Yeah, very good.
Then next is to fiscal year 23-24 warrant number 13.
Bangor Savings Bank, the credit card, $3,279. Blue Rock Earthworks, $2,856. Dennis K. Burke, fuel, $10,089. DDI services, that's the janitorial services, $3,118. Thermal Industries, MO removal, $3,179. Benson Baird, our attorney, $1,913. Maine Waste to Energy, tipping fees, $5,267. New England Salt Company, $2,599. January, RSU number 2, $516,459. I don't have an answer for you on why the other one was half. I'll get that to you next time. State of Maine Bureau of Motor Vehicles, $3,507. Winthrop Police Department dispatch, second payment, $33,028 for a total of $587,693.62.
Question before you approve that. The janitorial service, is that an older bill?
No, we're still paying because we don't, because we have to. I can talk to you about it later, but yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're obligated.
Yeah, no, I get it. I understand.
I make a motion, we approve warrant number 13 for fiscal year 2023-24.
What was the motion by Kent, second by Mark to approve warrant number 13 for fiscal year 23-24? All those in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Have we adjourned?
Second.
All those in favor? You.